Hello, Introduction to Anthropology. This is the first lecture in the archaeology section of our class. Today we're going to cover modern humans, Homo sapiens sapiens, from 300,000 years ago to the time of agriculture. Now, we reviewed the article called When the Sea Saved Humanity. It was about Homo sapiens. We know that at the start of the glaciation period, Homo sapiens went through a population bottleneck, and very few numbers of them survived. But those that did survive started to do quite well. And we see them expanding, growing in numbers, and spreading throughout the world. How they do this is by an amazing cultural adaptations and that big brain. Here we see a stone tool, and the light behind it shows you how finely crafted these stone tools were. The edges of this stone tool are almost microscopically thin and can allow for fine cutting. One of my professors, when I was in college, had his doctor take out his appendix with stone tools. It was stone tools that he manufactured himself. And the doctor was amazed at how fine of a cut you could make with obsidian blades and was truly impressed. What we have developing in human cultures throughout the world is deadly weapons, like this spearhead. This spearhead is shoved into the shaft of an aerodynamic wooden shaft and is designed to be thrown. And when it enters the animal, the spearhead actually leaves the shaft and continues to travel through the animal, causing maximum damage. Very sharp, technologically advanced spearhead. If you add poison to the top of it, it would help you take down animals that were very large. What we also see during this time period is the development of new adaptations and also what I would call signs of overall technological advancements. You may have heard the term lower Paleolithic and upper Paleolithic. The lower Paleolithic is just old Paleolithic. It covers this time period. The term upper Paleolithic means newer Paleolithic, so it's more recent. The difference between the tools and technologies we see is that humans develop better and better tools. They make life easier for themselves in most cases. Now, don't mistake this for a continuous like cultural evolution. Cultures make advancements, then they lose that technology or for some reason don't pass it on, so it's not an even flow. But overall, over the last 200,000 years, what we see is humans slowly becoming excellent hunters. And one of the ways they do it is by mastering coastal areas. We saw that at Pinnacle Point, they start to understand tides and collection strategies, but they also start to build boats, and those boats get better and better and can go deeper and deeper into the sea. This is a bone needle. Humans also at this time are mastering the process of skinning animals and turning that material into leather. They are also processing plants and doing some simple weavings for clothing as well. Humans, since Homo sapien evolved, we see indication of religious practices like the early Venus goddess carvings and also cave paintings. This is an Atlatl. An Atlatl is a spear thrower. Now, Homo erectus had spears, but those spears were what I would call thrusters, where you basically stick an animal with a sharpened spearhead, but you have to hold onto the wood. With modern humans, Homo sapiens, they are building aerodynamic spears that they can release and have sail through the air. So it's a much safer hunting strategy. When you add an atlatl to it, what you get is the ability to throw that spear further and with more force. So again, it adds to the ability to hunt. And also what we see is beautiful carvings and beautiful artwork. I put this in here to show you, I think it demonstrates some of the abilities of Homo sapiens. You got Homo sapiens were excellent hunters. And this is a house that was constructed out of the jawbones of mammoths. These houses, some of them are quite old, over 30,000 years old, some more recent than that. They're found in the Ukraine and Russia on what we would call kind of a cold, grassy area. And during the Ice Age, they would have been between glaciers. But the people are hunting mammoth, and mammoths are huge. They're larger than elephants are today. And in order to construct the house, you needed to kill 30 through 60 mammoths and use the bottom of the structure's jaw bones. And I think I have close up here. So the bottom would have been jaw bones, and they used scapulas and tusks to build kind of roof. The outside of it would have been covered in mammoth skins, and possibly the inside would have been lined with furs as well. These houses are quite large and could have housed dozens of people, even up to 100 people. Some are extremely large, and they show signs of people inside crafting, doing work with skins and sewing. So they were very good at processing the skins of the mammoth and other animals. They also show evidence of drying the meat. Now, if you kill one mammoth, you have huge amounts of meat. It can feed you and your community for months. But what you need to do is keep that meat safe to eat. So processing it, drying it would be very beneficial to the local community. This is a reconstruction of one house. Okay, again, you would have had to kill a lot of mammoths, so they were very successful hunters. Now we've gone through this before when we talked about foragers, and I just think it's a good time to review it because over the last 100,000 years, the foragers across the world did show these characteristics, but they also started to show some very advanced political and economic organizations as well. So classically, when we talk about forages, we talk about it being a major adaptation of modern humans. And by modern humans, I mean any humans after 300,000 years ago. Humans spread throughout the world. They were primarily egalitarian. There's exceptions, and we're starting to see more and more of those exceptions. They are primarily peaceful with exceptions. They had a plentiful diet and they're healthy. Okay, that's the classical view of them. But again, we're starting to see more evidence of warfare in foraging societies. Many foraging societies lived in environments that were quite rich in resources, and population levels grew quite high. This is particularly true after the Ice Age ended. This is a picture of a mound. It would have been an earthen mound, somewhat in a pyramidal shape. It has been flattened due to its age, but it was used by a foraging society as a ritual area and is located in a site called Pinnacle Point. This is an archaeology site called Poverty Point. It is located along the Mississippi River Valley in North America. This is an example of a foraging society that had built what I would call an early state. The area called Mound A is actually an earthen pyramid that is used for ritual. The semicircle below it are houses. So people came from many miles around and lived in the community for ritual activity. And again, these were all foragers living in an environment that was able to support a state structure. Um, they also had extensive trade networks to acquire rare materials. So here, Poverty Point is on the Mississippi River, and they were able to acquire all sorts of materials for making stone tools. They were also able to collect copper and galena. Many of the coastal areas had rich resources and could support large populations. In these areas that had large population, oftentimes early states would form to manage things like trade and even food distribution. Some foraging societies had a currency or type of currency, money, and this was often shells. Certain types of shells were highly prized, and they were part of vast trade networks. So I hope this has informed you about our ancestors. Starting on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about domestication and early Neolithic society.